Hi, Shaken Gaming here. Welcome to my second take on T7 ability upgrades. Second because yesterday I didn't really hit the record button when I tried to record this. So here I go again, even though you missed the first part. With the next patch coming, there will be 7 new characters getting their T7 abilities, and I am going to look at how well each of them will perform, in my opinion, and rank them, and in the end compare them to the first 7 character that got upgrades, T7 upgrades on their abilities in the last patch. So that was Kagi, Corkrim, and all these others, Freezard, and so on. I will not talk about the half-pigs and dwarfs yet, because they are still only a few characters from each faction, and maybe I'll wait until next patch, where even more characters come out, and they will be closer to being a full team before including them. But none of those are bad. But not a lot of people have them, so I'm going to go with these in this video. If we start with the first one, we got Hardorc. He's got a basic ability that gets T7, which gives bleeding for 1 more turn and 40% more physical damage. I'm ranking all of these with 1 to 5 points, 1 being completely useless and 5 being a total game changer, in my opinion. This one I'm going to rank with a 3. It's a solid upgrade, but it's nothing special. It's okay, but that's it. His next ability, though, gains 50% extra physical damage to all enemies, which is minimum 250% extra damage from 1 upgrade if there are 5 targets on the opponent team. But apart from that, he gets 10% extra chance to inflict ability block from 70 to 80, and the initial cooldown gets reduced, so it's usable 1 turn earlier, which is quite a big deal for Hardorc, in my opinion. And I've given this 4 points. His third ability, which also gets a level 8 upgrade, I'm not commenting on those until we can actually get the level 8 upgrades ourselves. But he restores 40% turn meter to himself and reduce initial cooldown by 1. That's an error up here that will be fixed before the live patch, because it shows as no initial cooldown is received. This is a skill you always use whenever you're playing with Hardorc, and he's such a good character in a lot of different teams, and a skill that you use every single time it's available that does this much, and then on top of it gets 40% turn meter to himself and reduce the initial cooldown by 1. That's a big one, in my opinion, very important, and I'm giving this 5 points. Also considering that making him faster with 40% turn meter on using this skill, he also gets to remove debuffs from allies more often. And when upgraded to level 7, he reduces debuffs on all allies instead of just 4 random allies at the start of each turn. This isn't as great, so I've given this 3 points. Let's go to the next character. Little Baddie. No surprise, Little Baddie's basic ability goes up and gets a guaranteed turn meter reduction by 25% instead of the annoying 80% that we've all been hating for such a long time in this game, especially in the raid. That's now guaranteed, and with 25%, that will set Little Baddie up to being the second best turn meter remover in the game, taking that spot back from Uncle Ho. I'm ranking this with 4 points actually. Not because it's a huge amount of damage, Baddie doesn't do a lot of damage, but getting that guaranteed turn meter reduction is so important in all of the raid. So for that alone, I'm giving this 4 points. Baddie's taunt gets 60% more physical damage to the main target, 30% more to the secondary targets. Who cares about those? It doesn't do a lot of damage. But reduce initial cooldown by 1 and reduce max cooldown by 1. That's a big one for Little Baddie. Making the taunt a lot more viable, making her a lot better defender, in my opinion, by far. So this is a big one, another 4 points in my opinion. The blind ability goes up by 20% chance to inflict blindness, reduce initial cooldown, and 40% more damage. It's a decent upgrade. 50% chance to blind is nice, but with the new taunt, she won't get as much time to do this, and it won't be as necessary. So I'm giving this a 3. The last ability was very good, her passive, just getting the level 1, and after that it was just getting harder and harder. You needed more and more resources to just get 5% shield all the way, and at level 6 she got 30% of her maximum health back as shield when she would have otherwise died. All those 6 levels combined in just level 7 alone, another big upgrade in my opinion, 60% of maximum health. So stacking a lot of health will really make her hard to kill, and that initial fatal blow will not finish her off. And I guess in the raid she will be more annoying, at least on tier 9 if she's got the level 7 ability, because Solius just got time to heal her back up. It gets even worse on level 8, but again, not commenting on that. Did I give her a point for that? I forgot. And another 4 points. You will see across the board I am giving a lot more points than for the first 7 characters. Frankly, because their ability upgrades are so much better. And because several of them are more viable characters to use in overall, really. Boreas. Now it gets interesting. His first ability I've only ranked with 3 points. He gets 40% extra physical damage, or 50 if it's the lowest health target he hits. Nothing special. Remember, he does do a lot of damage, so this is actually a decent chunk of damage on top. But still, nothing special, 3 points. His next ability, though, is a very, very hard-hitting ability that did 300% physical damage, inflicted 2 stacks of bleed for 2 turns. Now that moves up to 350, and on top applies armor decrease for 2 turns, which is quite big, because reducing that armor really makes your abilities hit so much harder. And just following up with this afterwards will do a ton of damage. And if you combine that, I've actually given this a 5. That's how good I think it is. It will really pump up the damage. Oh, I even forgot. Max cooldown reduced by 1. That on top. That's what makes this a 5. There's so much difference in this skill. And combining it with the next one, the self buff, which also applies on Kagi, he just gets critical hit chance on top of critical damage and damage increase, meaning his next ability will absolutely smash your opponent. And of course Kagi gets it as well. And on top he gets 20% turn meter whenever he uses it, up to 50% instead of just 30. This is another solid 5 in my opinion. This character will do amazing amounts of damage when he's fully built up. And maybe it's viable to get them all up to 7 just because combined they work so well together. I'm giving the last one a 3 as well, I think. Let me check my notes. Boreas, yeah, it's another 3 because it's not very impressive. But if you combine getting 3% extra physical damage for each Living Pride character in the team, up to 13 now, and getting the damage increase, getting the critical hit chance, getting the critical damage on an ability that inflicts bleeding and 350% physical damage, and the armor decrease, which can be followed up by this ability afterwards, because he will probably, the opponent will probably be the lowest health target, and then smacking with another 300% physical on top, which gets boosted by both the armor decrease and the bleeding, which increases damage taken by 10%. Then this could easily do more damage than this one if you follow up in that order. And that's pretty crazy in my opinion. So he might be very, very evil after this upgrade. Lula, next one. I can start by saying I've given all 4 abilities a 4. They are solid all the way through. No 5s, but very good. The first one gets 40% extra physical damage and 55% physical if the target has more health than Lula. Actually, I think I'll go with the 3 on this one and keep the others on 4 instead. Coming to think of it, it's not that big a difference. There's nothing special going on here, but a good 3, and she will do a lot of damage with it. But over here it's a definite 4 points. She gets 60% more physical damage on this ability, and it deals 50% more crit damage. And remember that when she's invisible, this is a guaranteed crit. So getting 60% more physical damage on top of doing 50% more crit damage, that ramps up quite a lot. So this will hit very, very hard. Guaranteed crit with 50% extra crit damage. That's a big one, especially if you landed on demons, or even just being with elves, which you're going to see in the passive. Her stealth ability, which you usually always use, again, every time it's available. On top of the old stuff it did, it now also removes 1 buff from her, debuff from her, and gives her 40% turn meter. That's enough in my opinion to give it 4 points. Her passive gets 3% more damage for each living demon in the team, getting up to 10%, so a full demon party, 50% extra damage. And on top of that, she gets 3% for each living elf in the party, meaning she might be able to be very, very strong in the battlegrounds versus demons after this, even on an elf team, so maybe you can free up your elves, your demons for something else. Just an idea. But I'll have to work on that to see if that's the case. But another strong upgrade, 3, 4, 4, 4. Sergeant Pickwald. He is not as interesting as the others. Remember, he does a lot of damage, but he's a squishy character as well that's easily killed. And he gets nothing here at all to keep him alive. He does get more damage, but not that much. Not anything significantly new. I've given this one a 3 points. He gets 50% extra physical damage, and if the target is below 75% health, he gets 65% more. It moves up. Prior it was when the target was below 50%, and that moves up to 75. Definitely ramping up this ability's damage or the potential of it, but it's not that significant in my opinion. 3 points. Ever since his rework, or the goblin rework, this ability has been useless, and it stays that way now. There's no difference. You get to use it on turn 1 instead of turn 2. Who cares? It multiplies the damage up to 2.5 on your next ability instead of 2.35. So what? He is he's going to use it on an assist anyway. Not very impressive. And since I'm not using Arno, so definitely don't have Super Shell on him, this is useless. There's no point in even using it, so upgrading it is even more useless. 1 point for that skill. This one, 40% extra physical damage to 2 targets. Remember, this does a lot of damage already, and therefore it's a decent upgrade, but still just 3 points. It does nothing special. On his passive ability, he gets 10% physical extra damage. Another 3 point. It's solid, it works. It will ramp up his damage, but nothing special. Puncherface. I think I've got 4 fours for him. Again, it's good upgrades that makes him better and changes him to being even faster. But again, he's a squishy character and you don't see a lot of use for him. So just remember that before you upgrade these. It's very good upgrades, but are you going to use him? That's the question. From before, he gets 40% more physical damage and 15% extra chance to recover turn meter, and he gains 5% more turn meter, going up from 65% chance and 20% to 80% chance to recover 25. So faster, which is the keyword for all of these abilities. And combined together, he will be very, very fast, but also easily killed. His second ability does 80% more damage, ramping it up to a crazy amount of 450 and 75% chance to gain haste for 2 turns. That's pretty good. That's a guaranteed on level 8, but can't comment on that. 50% extra physical damage to a hard-hitting ability. Okay, this is a 4, but I said so, but it'll be a low 4 because it does nothing special. But it's such a good character, it's such a good ability already, so giving it 50% more damage is quite a lot, because this is a must-use ability whenever you can, because you're trying to go around tanks, for example, defenders in battlegrounds. I think it's worth 4 points, maybe a low 4, but still. And his passive, 10 plus speed. So combining plus 10 speed with 75% chance to gain haste on this, and an 80% chance to recover 25% turn meter. He will just go bam, 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 bam all the time. He will hit so many times, but still, he's squishy. So just kill him off. Shaolin is the last one. He is not that interesting again. He gets 60% extra physical damage on his basic and recovers 5% extra health. Boring. That's a 3 from me. Then he's got his turn meter skill that he got from Master Duo back in the day. And that gets 15% turn meter extra to the entire team, no matter if they are pandas or not, just his team. And he gains critical hit chance for 2 turns. This is a big upgrade. He's a bad character, but this upgrade will definitely make him a lot better. And I'm giving this 4 points again. His AoE attack, that's another 4 points. He gets to hit 7 times on random targets with 25% extra damage on all 7 attacks. And he will hit all 7, no matter if there's 1 target or there's 7 targets. He will hit 7 times, which gives quite a lot of extra damage on one ability. So 4 points, not a big 4 points, but 4 points nevertheless. On his passive, instead of getting 1% more life for every 4% of his health, plus an extra 10% if he's got full health, which is full health, that's 25, plus 10, that's 35% extra damage if he's on full health. That ramps up quite a lot, because he gets 33 plus 15 for being on full health, that's 48. So that's a solid upgrade. A lot more than several of the others get on their passive ability, and I've given this a 4 as well. If you're going to upgrade it or not, that's a different matter. If you don't use him, don't upgrade it. And that can be said on all of these abilities. If you don't use the characters, if they don't fit in your roster, if you don't see potential in them, then don't upgrade their abilities, no matter how well are ranked their T7 upgrades on their abilities. Because if they're not fitting on your roster, don't upgrade them. Take whatever you want. But in the end here, I will compare and rank those 10 ability upgrades I think is the best so far, combined with the first 7 characters released. So 14 characters, each with 4 abilities, ranking the best 10, in my opinion, to do on your roster. If we start at number 10, I will have to go over and find this guy, which his second ability I didn't rank as high in the first video I made about T7 ability upgrades, but I've had to reconsider, and I've become wiser, because this ability does a lot of damage, and getting 40% turn meter if all 3 attacks crit, which is definitely viable to get. On top, if you run that under a Talan lead, he will possibly or likely get cooldown reduction and turn meter from the crits, meaning he can use this a lot. This is a big upgrade, and I'm giving this number 10 as the 10th best ability upgrade on T7 abilities that you can make in the game after this patch. The 9th best is going to be no other than Batty. This upgrade is so big, I think. She will be a real tank, because killing her will be so hard. Getting all that health back and giving you, no, not health, but shield, and then healing her on top will just keep her alive so much longer, and I'm ranking this as the 9th best upgrade you can make after the update. Combining that with number 8 on my list, which is her taunt, Batty will be a real tank. She will actually be able to taunt reliably, and she will be able to live through her shield, giving her extra life. That's number 9 and 8 on my list. I think they are both very good abilities that both makes her a lot stronger as a tank, making her so much harder to take down, and her taunt so much more reliable. At the 7th best, sorry. Thought something was wrong. I have taken Lula's piercing shot ability, because they're getting 60% extra physical damage with a guaranteed crit, and getting 50% extra crit damage it's going through the roof. Combining that with her passive that gives so much extra damage now, also on elf teams, but versus demons as well. This might be able to one-shot someone actually. So she's not the most used character, but this will really, really hit hard. So I've given this 7th best upgrade after the patch, in my opinion. At number 6, who do we have? We've got Hardorcs' second ability, getting that 50% extra physical damage across the board, 5 targets with reduced cooldown. You can use it on second turn, and 80% chance to inflict ability block. That's evil on second turn. Guessing just making him faster than the opponent's Garrett in Arena, for example, just to mention one example of how good this is. He can ability block Garrett before that blind goes up. And if there should be any blinds, well, then he will just remove them. And he can do this more often. And he gets turn meter back and gets faster. This is my 6th best upgrade, in my opinion, on my list. And I think it's one of those that I will do whenever I see I have leftover ability scrolls, actually. At number 5, I've ranked Batty again for the 3rd time, just because this is a game changer. She will be 2nd best turn meter remover after this, and that's worth a solid 5 in my opinion alone, just because getting her in the raid, she will be so much more reliable, and you will feel a big change, because those every 5 hits that you missed, removing turn meter with Batty, is so crazy, and that's what makes the boss take a turn and the loop stops, and boss takes a turn and gets 5% faster and gets 5% more turn meter, tenacity, and thus making it that much harder, meaning you're not going to solo it. This will make it a lot easier, or more reliable at least. That's number 5 on my list. For the last 4, I'm going with my number 1 from last time as the 4th best upgrade ability, Kagi's speed. I still stick with this one. She can, or he, it's a he. He can get this off a lot. 20% turn meter to himself and 4 allies. That's 100% turn meter across the team. That alone is good, but reducing the max cooldown by 1, meaning that you can have it up almost all the time, makes your team so much faster. This is my 4th best upgrade, in my opinion, and it's also the only one that I've done so far. But I will do more after this upgrade, after this patch, especially considering number 1 and number 2. Sorry, that was wrong. That was Kagi with number 4. Going back here in order, number 3 is Devil's Horns by Hardorc. 40% extra turn meter on a skill you always use, and initial cooldown by 1. So you can follow this up the turn after you make this on turn 2. Ability blocking them all for 2 turns, very likely at least, with a decent amount of damage. The turn after, you can get, remember this is wrong, it'll get initial cooldown by 1. You can get cheat death up, regeneration and damage increase, and just smack them down. And they won't have a lot of buffs up because your ability blocked most of them the turn prior. So that's my 3rd best ability upgrade in my opinion. And the last 2 one, I already gave that away. That's Boreas. This is number 2 with crit chance increase for 2 turns and 20% turn meter, combining with all the other buffs. That's number 2, and the best in my opinion is his wounding arrow, because combining that with the buff and all that this ability does in terms of damage and debuffing and reducing cooldown of it, that's number 1. Those are my recommendations to how you should upgrade these abilities. But it's your decision in the end. Whatever fits you, you should go with. If you see benefit in any way from abilities that are ranked low, then by all means use them. You're supposed to enjoy this game, not just being dictated by the shaking dictator on what to do with all your currency and ability scrolls. So do whatever you want, but just consider my advice and the points I've given. Other people might think differently, and maybe I will too. I changed my mind on Sharp, now ranking him higher than I did last time. But ultimately, it has to fit your roster, your battlegrounds, your raid, your tournaments, your arena. So consider that, make your choices appropriately, and I will be back with this monkey guy who is terribly annoying to play against. He's got some very strong sides, but he can also be, you can also work around him. And the half pigs and dwarfs, I will cover that all in the next video I make. Possibly when the patch is officially released, or when the patch notes are officially released. We'll have to see about that. But I'm commenting on the rest, but there's no point in doing that until they are actually in the game, in my opinion. So I stick with these, so you're not using your ability scrolls too early on the last patch, the last batch of heroes that got them. That became a bit lengthy, me rambling here in the end, but hope you enjoyed the video, you learned something, and you can use some of it at least. Have a great day, and subscribe if you want.